Long before crypto scams, meme stocks, or billion-dollar rug pulls, there was Charles Ponzi, a smooth-talking immigrant who promised to double your money in just 90 days. 40,000 people handed over their cash, and when the whole thing collapsed, he smiled, took a bow, and left his name in history. In 1903, Charles Ponzi stepped off a ship in Boston Harbor. He had about $250 in his pocket, a smile on his face, and the boundless optimism of a man with absolutely no plan. Born in Italy to a once wealthy family, Ponzi grew up watching that wealth disappear. He dreamed of restoring it, not through hard work, but through brilliance. He believed the world owed him something, and that he could find a way to collect. At first, he worked odd jobs: dishwasher, clerk, sign painter. He was fired often, lied frequently, failed spectacularly. But he was charming and persistent. Even when he ended up in prison for check fraud, and later for smuggling immigrants, Ponzi wasn't discouraged. He called prison a business school. When he got out, the world was changing. World War I had ended. America was booming, and Ponzi saw opportunity. In 1919, he stumbled across something seemingly trivial: the International Reply Coupon, or IRC, a small certificate issued by postal services to allow someone in one country to pay for postage in another. You could buy an IRC in Italy, where inflation had crushed the currency, and redeem it in the US for a profit. On paper, it was real, legal, a simple arbitrage: buy low, sell high. But in practice, totally unscalable. It would require shipping crates of coupons across oceans, converting currencies, navigating customs laws. It wasn't a business model, it was a logistical nightmare. Ponzi knew this, and he didn't care. He pitched it anyway, promising investors a 50% return in 45 days or double their money in 90. He didn't actually buy coupons. He just used investors' money to pay off the old ones. The scam was simple, and it worked. Word spread fast. First, it was friends, then neighbors, then strangers lining up the street. Barbers, cops, clerks, bankers, everybody wanted in. Ponzi rented a fancy office in downtown Boston, hired salesmen, secretaries, lawyers. Money poured in by the hour. By mid-1920, he was taking in $250,000 a day. That's over $3.5 million in today's dollars. He bought a mansion in Lexington, complete with air conditioning, heated pool, and a staff of servants. He wore expensive suits, smoked imported cigars, and gave generously to the poor, calling himself the people's banker. He even sued the Boston Post for libel when they questioned his operation, and won. Investors adored him. The media celebrated him. He was hailed as a genius, a savior, a man who had outsmarted Wall Street. And underneath it all, there was nothing. No business, no coupons, no profits. Just a single unstoppable lie. Ponzi's scam had become so big that he started buying banks. Not to grow a portfolio. He wanted access to investor data so he could find more victims. Still, no one blinked. Why would they? He was paying out exactly what he promised. That's the brilliance of a Ponzi scheme. It works until it doesn't. The cracks began to show when financial journalist Clarence Barron took a closer look. Barron was no fool. He owned the Wall Street Journal and had a sharp instinct for fraud. He asked, if Ponzi was really moving this many coupons, where were they? To fulfill his investor payouts, Ponzi would need over 160 million IRCs. When Barron looked into it, he found out that he only had about 27,000. Something didn't add up, and Barron said so, loudly. Meanwhile, the Boston Post, which had once praised Ponzi, launched its own investigation. Reporters began asking hard questions. Where are the records, the receipts, the proof? Ponzi stalled, deflected, bribed, but the momentum was shifting. The state banking commissioner got involved. The feds started circling. And then the unthinkable happened. A former employee came forward. He told the press what many had long suspected. There was no business, no operation, just an illusion. Panic hit fast. Investors lined up outside his office, demanding their money back. And Ponzi? He greeted them with a smile, handed out refunds, took photos, gave speeches. He thought he could bluff his way out. But the damage was done. Within days, the bank collapsed. Soon after, Ponzi was arrested and charged with 86 counts of mail fraud. He owed investors over $7 million, more than $100 million today, and nearly all of it was gone. Ponzi pleaded guilty in federal court and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. After serving just 3, he was paroled and immediately indicted again, this time by the state of Massachusetts. He fought the charges for 7 years before being convicted again and sentenced to additional time. When he was finally released in 1934, he was a broken man, financially and politically toxic. He bounced from scam to scam, eventually landing in Brazil, where he tried to defund the government with a new shipping scheme. It failed, just like all the others. He died in 1949, alone, broke, in a charity hospital in Rio de Janeiro. His final years were spent blind, paralyzed, and forgotten. But his name, that lived on. Today, every financial fraud that pays old investors with new money bears his name, the Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi didn't just con investors. He conned a system that wanted to believe. He turned hope into profit, credibility into currency. And when it collapsed, it didn't just take down a man. It exposed a mindset that we would rather believe a lie with a smile than a truth with consequences. Ponzi left behind more than victims. He left behind a blueprint. And it's one that still works again and again. Because when it comes to fraud, the faces may change, the tech may evolve, but the scheme, that's eternal. I am Veritas Gaius, truth through collapse.